Peace, who this?
My name is Jullien Gordon, and thank you for answering the call to perform higher.
So now we're going to get into tonight's teaching, and tonight's teaching is on how to create the perfect work week. And this is experience that I have because I've been in full control over my time as an entrepreneur for the past almost 4 years now. I started my business in January 2009 at the height of the financial crisis, and here I am 4 years later still going, even though I quit my job with only what was it, a 6-month runway. And here I am 4 years later, and the business is continuing to grow. And for me, without having a boss or someone telling me how to spend my time and what to do, I've had to figure that out for myself. And so here I am looking at my own process and going to share that with you today. So if you can go to the photos section of the Facebook group, and you can find the slides there. And on the second slide, you are going to see an image of a big mayonnaise jar, some sand, some small rocks, and some larger rocks. And I want to start off with a story that I heard that just has been amazing, amazing metaphor for how we think about our time. So a philosopher professor stood before his class and had some items in front of him. When class began, wordlessly he picked up a large empty mayonnaise jar and proceeded to fill it with rocks right to the top. Rocks about 2 inches in diameter. Those are the bigger rocks. And he asked the students if the jar was full. They agreed that it was, so the professor then picked up a box of pebbles and poured them into the jar. He shook the jar lightly. The pebbles, of course, rolled into the open areas between the larger rocks, and the students laughed, and he asked the students again if the jar was full. And they agreed yes, and the professor then picked up a box of sand and poured it into the jar. And of course, the sand filled up everything else in the jar. And now the professor said, I want you to recognize that this is your life. The rocks are the important things, the big things. Your family, your partner, your health, your children, and anything that is so important, so important that if it was to be lost would totally destroy your life. The pebbles are the other things in life that matter, but they're kind of smaller on scale. So the pebbles represent things like your job, your house, your car, the material things that you can also get elsewhere. You can't replace your kids, you can't replace your family, you can't replace your health, right? So those are the big things. The smaller things, though significant, are your job, your house, your car, those other big investments that you make in time and money. The same goes, and then for the sand is everything else. It's the small stuff. And you put the sand, if you put the sand or the pebbles into the jar first, if you go look at the next slide, somebody's put the sand in and then the pebbles in, and then they try to put the large rocks in, their family, their health, etc. on top, and not everything fits, right? And if you go to the next slide, you'll see that when you put in the large rocks first, the things that you really care about, your family, your health, your children, your partner, put in the large rocks first, then you put in the pebbles, your job, your house, your car, and then you put in the sand, you notice that everything fits into the jar. And so today we want to really look at that and apply that to the way we manage our time and our week. Okay? Because in the same way that this jar actually represents our life, and if we spend all our energy and time on the small stuff, the material things, we'll never have room for the things that truly matter to us. Okay? So on slide 4, you'll see my kind of version of this jar. And every single week, we get a 168-hour cup, right? We get a 168-hour cup to fill up every single week, okay? Except for the last week of your life, of course. And 1/3 of that is already going to go to sleep, right? Or about 1/4 of it. So 42 hours, if you're getting about, what, 6 hours of sleep a night, 42 hours is already gone to sleep. So that already closes off some of the space that you have. There are some people out there who don't sleep, but I'm not one of them. Rest is important to me, and when I rest, it allows me to perform at higher levels. Now, if you go to the next slide, many of us, our lives feel like this. Like when you take the sleep, the 42 hours, you're left with what, 126 more hours. And for a lot of people, you already feel like you're busy. Your time is already swallowed up. Your cup is already spilling over. right? And then you have these goals and these other ideas and these ambitions that you have. And if you go to the next slide, you try to add something new onto a system that's already not working, right? Your cup's already spilling over, and now you want to pour something else into your cup. You want to add an additional activity. You want to add an additional leadership responsibility. You want to add an additional child to the equation. Whatever it is, our cup is already not working, and we want to add something else as if that's going to make things different. And we know that it's not. And so the first thing we have to do in order to manage our lives and really achieve this perfect work week is to first learn how to say no. We have to learn how to say no. Because when you say no, what it does is create space in your life, in your cup, for the new things that you do want to add into your life. So there may be some things that are irrelevant that you need to let go. Perhaps you may let go of your commute, or you may think creatively around your commute. For instance, when I worked at UCLA, I lived about 15 minutes away, and if I left at 6 a.m. to go to work, I could get there in 15 minutes. If I left at 6:30, I could get there in about 45 minutes. If I left at 7 o'clock, it was gonna take me an hour and a half to get to work, right? And the same for leaving the office. So what I decided to do was to go to work at 6 a.m. every day so that my commute was only 15 minutes one way and 15 minutes around 3 o'clock going back. So I'm spending half an hour in the car. Whereas if I tried to go to work at 8 o'clock every day and leave at 5 o'clock, the same time everyone else was leaving, that was gonna make my commute or time in my car 3 hours. And so by shifting the way I was moving through my perfect work week, it allowed me to have more time, 2.5 hours more than the person who just went to work from 8 to 5. So we can think creatively about the way we are managing our week in that way to create space. So I said no to leaving the house at 8 o'clock. By getting to the office at 6 a.m., nobody else was there, and I got more work done in that 2-hour period before anyone else got there than I would have had I arrived at 8 and the office being full. And so that's just an example of how we can say no to something and create space. Some of us are on boards or holding leadership positions or doing things with our time and energy that we could actually say no to. It may have sounded good at first to be involved, but maybe it's an old commitment and you've worn out your welcome, or you're just not as inspired by that particular activity as you used to be. And so you need to figure out how to let it go to create space in your life for the things that you want. On the next slide, you'll see your lifetime. Your lifetime. Like I said, this is the lifetime of someone who lives to 84 years old. But in reality, I have a wake-up call, which is that a lot of us, we think we have this immortality, and that death, it happens, and it's not really till you have a life threatening situation or someone around you dies that you start to really get privy to death. As you know, in my story, I got held up at gunpoint at the age of 18 for Mercedes-Benz that I bought, and that was a wake-up call for me. Before that, I probably would have been saying things like, oh, I have time. Yeah, I have time. I'll get to that. And we say we have time, and when in fact, we really don't know how much time we have. We know how much is in our bank account, but no one knows how much is in their time account. Nobody. And nobody can buy an extra minute of time. Not Steve Jobs, obviously. Not Bill Gates. Nobody. And so we don't know how much is in our time account. So when we say, oh, I have time, the reality is that no, you don't. Or you may not. The average life expectancy for a U.S. male is only 76 years old. And because of our own ego and our ideas of death and our own immortality, we think that it's longer. But the average life expectancy for a U.S. male is only 76 years old. And for U.S. females, it's only 81 years old. And so this is a layout of what your life is supposed to look like. You see the black area, that's sleep. So again, 1/3 or 1/4 of your life is already gone to sleep. So just take that off the books, right? The next is the yellow area, which is your free time. You have a lot when you're little, when you're a little kid. Then you have very little free time when you are in your full-time work. And then you're supposed to have this big chunk at the end called retirement. A lot of people try to wait and hold on to really have the life that they want upon retirement. And it doesn't have to be that way. Of course, then you have K through 12, where you're in school from 8 to 3. And then if you decided to go to college, you have this green area area, this 4-year period, and you see how minuscule college is in the scope of your entire life. It's a 4-year period where you are fully engaged and hopefully learning, but for some people was other things involved in college. And then you have this big red area at the center of your life, which is your career. And this red area is only based on a 40-hour work week. And I know that some of you out there are working 50, 60, sometimes 70 hours a week to have the career that you want. And of course, that has hidden taxes on our lives in other ways. So today we're going to really talk about how we can rethink the way this average life is laid out. This is just an average life, and your life does not have to look or feel like this. On the next slide, you'll see what the average workday looks like for an individual based on their happiness. And at 8 a.m., you see this spike in the black line, and that spike is just thank God I'm alive. Thank God I'm alive. That's a spike. And then you'll see a dip around 9 a.m., and that is being stuck in traffic, driving to a place that you hate. Right? You're stuck in traffic, and it is actually a low point of the day. You're driving stuck in traffic to a place that you don't even really want to go to in the first place. Then around 11 o'clock, there's a spike, and everybody wonders what that spike is. They say, oh, it's the coffee break. Nope, it's not even the coffee break. That spike is simply thinking about lunch. Thinking about lunch will send serotonin to your brain and make you happy right off the bat. And of course, for a lot of people, the high point of their day is lunch. That lunch break. And some people know how to extend that lunch break to be not just 1 hour, but 2 hours. And then from there, you have that gap, right? That gap between lunch. You might feel like you have the itis because you ate a lot for lunch, and you're trying to figure out how I'm going to make it to 5 o'clock. I'm already dozing off. And you get to about 3:30, and what do? You start thinking about leaving. And if I was CEO of the world, I would just end work at 3:30 because nobody's really getting any real work done after 3:30. They're thinking about leaving, what they have to do once they get home, etc. Then there's a little dip again because you are stuck in traffic, but finally you're driving home, you're going to see your family. If you have bad kids, then it might be a larger dip than that because you don't want to go home. But then you get home, you relax, you eat dinner, you watch some TV, spend time with family, and then at the high point of the day for people is 2 S words. One is sleep and the other is sex for a lot of people. And that's the high point of the day. And that's the perfect average day. Oh no, that's not the perfect average day. That's the average work day for a lot of people. And when I ask people who really wants to live this life, most people say no, not me. And so the red line above that, that's what my life looks like and feels like on a daily basis. And everything between the red line and the black line is called area under the curve, if you remember that from math. And really that's happiness left on the table. This graph measures one's happiness, and that's happiness left on the table. And that's because we don't feel empowered to create the week that we want. And so right now what I'm going to do is walk you through a tool that I've created to help you think about your work week. And remember, this is a tool that I created based on my life, and you can look at the examples and hopefully in Microsoft Word create your own tool that reflects the lifestyle that you are trying to design in the midst of your career. And so if you could go to the next slide, I just want to break down why I use these 3 tools and the 3 tools that I use. And those 3 tools are my calendar. I tend to use Google Calendar to manage my personal and professional calendar. And then one side of the worksheet is a to-do list. And then the other side of the worksheet is a time grid. Okay, so that is my calendar, which is online, and then the piece of paper has my to-do list on one side and my time grid on the other side. Okay, for me, your calendar is all about your vision. It answers the question, what do I want to achieve and by when? Right? That's my vision. That's where I'm ultimately trying to go. The to-do list is like your strategy. These are the things you think you need to do in order to achieve what it is that you truly want. So what do I think I have to do to achieve it? Right? And so your to-do list is really your strategy. And then from there, you have your time grid, which equals the plan. This is how should I spend my time accordingly based on what I think I need to do and where I ultimately want to go. So it's a 3-part process that I engage in, and you know, at the end of each call I tell people to write down their to-do list before they go to sleep. This is the process that I actually engage in after every Sunday night hire call. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to start with the calendar, and that's on the next slide. And your calendar is just your vision. And on your calendar, you're going to have things like meetings, you're going to have birthdays, you're going to have project deadlines, you're going to have perhaps travel. For me, I have speaking engagements, I have consulting work, you're going to have some holidays on there, you're going to have your meetings, phone calls, events that you have to go to, and these are all your calendar items. And usually with every calendar item comes some sort of action that you need to do to be successful in that particular space. So for instance, on my calendar, you see that last month I was in California doing work with PricewaterhouseCoopers. And so for those things, there comes to-do list items, right? If I'm going to speak for them for a 2-day seminar, then what I need to do is schedule prep time. I need to rehearse. I need to get feedback. I need to book my travel. I need to get my hotel. I need to do all of these things to get ready for that thing that's on my calendar. So with everything that comes on our calendar, there comes some sort of preparation or to-do list item. And so the more things that are on the calendar, the more things translate into your actual to-do list. And so if you don't have a calendar tool, I encourage you to create one, because it gives you insight on your vision for where you're going this month or this week or in the next 90 days. And then it allows you to back into your to-do list when you have your calendar in mind. So from there, I want to go into the to-do list. And this is easy to create. I encourage you to create it in a Microsoft Word. I currently use Mac, and so I was using Pages, and I print these as PDFs. So I was gonna send you the tool, but because I use Pages and a lot of people use Word, it didn't export perfectly. And so I think it would be pretty easy for you to replicate in Microsoft Word. And the reason I want you to create it for yourself is because your life may be structured differently than mine. And as you can see, I have these 6 different categories. For me, my categories are things that I need to do. So you'll see Jullien in the upper left-hand corner. And then from there, there's things that I need to do for the company, new hire. Then under that, there's things that I need to follow up on, or tasks that I need to remember to do later. So those things oftentimes get carried into the next week. Then there's things I need to delegate, and that's in the upper right-hand corner. Then I have a box for personal and other. So these are things that I need to do for my family and for my wife. And then finally, I just have a space for things I need to think about. They aren't things I need to do yet, but I do need to think about them and keep them on my mind. And at the bottom, there's a section for notes, and I use that section for meetings and things of that nature. So I'll just walk you through some things that were on my calendar last week and how those translated into my actual to-do list. So every week you see that it's actually typed in because I have hire call prep. Before the call, I have prep time to make sure that I deliver powerfully, to make sure that the guest teachers are the best that they can possibly be and prepared to teach you and add value to your life on these calls. Last week, I had to write chapter 3 of my new book, The Interviewer, which is hopefully going to come out early next year. And then I had another action that I had to do because of an event that's happening in November. I had to master section 2 of a presentation that I'm doing for another organization. It's going to be a detailed presentation, has multiple sections, and so I've broken that down into pieces, even though it's in November, and I have to master those things 1 week at a time. So that's something that's on my November calendar that I've broken up, and it's actually showing up on my to-do list now that we're in October. We'll be in October tomorrow. And then I had to write 4 articles for Black Enterprise. This week, Black Enterprise offered me the opportunity to be one of the leading columnists for their career section, and they wanted me to deliver some content for October. So that came to my to-do list. This wasn't something that I could delegate. This wasn't something specifically related to the company. This is things that I had to be 100% responsible for. Under that, you'll see new hire. And in new hire, there's pretty much 3 things that I have to do every week. I have to follow up with accounts receivables. There's some clients that we've done work for now that it's at the end of the month that we have to send out invoices for in order to get payments initiated. I have to follow up on closed deals. For instance, this week I spoke at Duke and North Carolina Central University, and so I had to follow up and make sure all the logistics were set so that I could deliver and perform at my highest level there, and that those trips were going to be successful. And then the third thing that I do for new hire on a weekly basis is follow up with outstanding outstanding proposals. So we'll send out proposals to different organizations for how we can support them in their work after having conversations with them. And you know, I want to, every 2 weeks, I want to reach back and touch bases, see where they're at in their decision-making process, and see if there's any supporting evidence that I can give them to actually convert that into an actual deal. And so those are the things that I do for new hire on a week-to-week basis, and then other things may come up. In regards to follow-up and tasks for later, this week I tend to put the names of people I need to follow up with. So this week I had to follow up with Gwen in order to finalize a particular date for a speaking engagement that I have in February. I had to follow up with my accountant to help me with QuickBooks automation. I had to follow up with Mikey on a video shoot that we just did to see what the project timeline was going to be for that. And then I had to follow up with Herman on my rebranding process, right? So these are the people. I tend to put people here and the thing that I need to follow up with them about. In the upper right hand corner, this is really Sarita's column, and so when I get a thought and I need to discuss with her when we meet on a weekly basis, then I need to put those things here. So right now I wrote this amazing article on New Year's resolutions, and she's trying to get that placed in a major media outlet. We're also next, starting in October, we're going to start a 4-week call series called Get My Money Right, and so she's managing that process and making that happen, and so we need to follow up on that, and there's some things that we need to get done for that. Then we're also going to Book Expo America, and we need to connect with other authors who are going to be sharing our booth with us. And so if you're an author or you know any other authors, please let us know, because we are sharing booth space with other authors. So those are things that I need to delegate and coordinate. In regards to my personal life, there's basic things that I need to do every now and again. Grocery shopping, right? I was traveling this week, and so we didn't go grocery shopping, but now that I'm home for a few weeks, we need to go grocery shopping. I need to call the plumber to get the toilet fixed, just basic stuff. Pick up my dry cleaning. I need to get a birthday present. Birthday party is going to be on my calendar, right? And that's coming up, and so I need to put on my to-do list before the birthday party occurs to get some sort of present or card for that particular individual. And because I was gone, I need to stop by my P.O. box at the post office to see if there's any checks in there or any packages that I need to pick up. And then finally, in my things to think about column, you'll see that we're starting to think about our 2013 strategic plan for the business. And so this is how I think about my work week based on my calendar. So I'll open up my calendar, I'll pull out this piece of paper, and I'll start writing down the things that I need to do this week to move closer towards that vision. Okay, and so I encourage you to figure out what are the little 6 domains in your life. Perhaps you have work, family, your side hustle, or your hobby, or some organization that you're a leader in, that you may be on the board, or you may be on the fundraising committee, etc. Maybe those are the 4 domains for you that you choose to put as the headings for these different areas. But whatever it is for you, I encourage you to create this kind of tool for yourself and customize it. So your to-do list is not just a series of items on Post-its, but this actually categorizes your to-do list in a way that makes it more manageable. So you can say, you know what, I'm really focused on Jullien stuff today. I'm really focused on new hire stuff today. I'm really focused on following up with people and talking to Sarita about following up with her to see where these particular projects are that were delegated her way. So it kind of adds a few little categories to your life. Perhaps you're at a company and you are on 2 different teams and you have a different category for each one of those. So this has just been helpful for me in terms of my process, in terms of organizing my perfect work week. So from there, every item on this to-do list has time associated with it, right? It's going to take a certain amount of time to write the articles for Black Enterprise. It's going to take a certain amount of time to prepare for the presentation that I have in November. It's going to take a certain amount of time to show up in front of the computer and write my book. It's going to take a certain amount of time to follow up with all these leads, these contacts, and these different people. And so we want to translate what's on our to-do list into our time grid. So if you go to the last slide, this is our time grid. This is our plan. This is what we ideally want for the perfect work week. And I've told you all about my ritual first period, meaning that you remember first period from high school. First period for me is the first 30 minutes of my day, and those first 30 minutes go to me, right? They don't go to my wife, they don't go to clients, they don't go to email. This is kind of my ritual to start my day. And the way you start your day can be really powerful. And what I found is that when I give my first 30 minutes of my day to myself, it allows me to give to my clients, my wife, my family, at a greater capacity afterwards. But oftentimes we start our days and we start giving to everybody else, to our employers, to other people, and then we try to work out in the evening, or try to work on our hobby or our side hustle in the evening when our energy is at its lowest. Right? So we're giving ourselves our worst energy. And so I found that actually moving that space to the beginning of my day has just been a powerful way to start. So first half an hour of my day goes to myself. And so that's 6 a.m. Then, you know, I want to eat breakfast, not necessarily in front of the computer. Sometimes it happens. But right now I'm in the process of writing a book. And so the first 2 hours of my day, once I'm actually in front of my computer, don't go to email. They go to writing my book. And sometimes it's hard to say I want to write chapter 3 today. It's just difficult because sometimes the inspiration flows and sometimes it doesn't. But what I do know I need to do is show up in front of the computer even for the inspiration to occur. And so you'll see this in my time grid. And this is what my time grid will look like on Sunday night before Monday occurs. This week, you can see on Monday, I had a coaching client that I had to go meet in the city. But remember, though the coaching session is only 45 minutes, there is travel that I have to engage in order to get there. I have to catch the train there and back. So even though I'm only doing an hour's worth of work, I'm actually engaged in 3 hours, engaging 3 hours of my schedule. And of course, I have to price my coaching accordingly, right? I can't charge for 1 hour of work when it's costing me 2 hours to just get to the particular client. So I have to make up for that in the pricing of my coaching. There's other standing things that I know are going to occur on Sunday night before they even happen. So for instance, my meeting with Sarita on Tuesday, that's a 3-hour meeting. I need to figure out, okay, after that meeting, I'm gonna go to the post office. I'm gonna go to the laundromat. This week I had to travel, so Wednesday I didn't do my first period. I had a flight at the crack of dawn. I had to fly to Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina in order to present at Duke that Wednesday night. And so you can see that Wednesday is a little off in terms of the rhythm of my week, but I planned for it, and I'm fully aware that that's what Wednesday was going to look like. And then you saw on my to-do list, I had to write articles for Black Enterprise. And so I had to say, where in my week am I going to find the time to write these articles for them to deliver at the beginning of October so that they can all run in October? And you see, I found that time on Friday. On Saturday, I spoke at North Carolina Central University. I had to travel there. I stayed with family in Rocky Mount, and we had an hour-long drive, so we had to travel there. And then I didn't just speak at the conference. I stayed after to speak with students and the staff there, etc. And then I had to travel to the airport. And you see, my flight on Saturday was around in the early afternoon, and you see some dead space between the time I traveled and got to the airport and the time I was actually flying. Of course, you have to get to the airport early, and sometimes I do spend dead time in the airport, and I just take full advantage of it, whether that's taking a nap, whether that's resting, whether that's doing something entertaining. Rather than feeling guilty about this free time that I have, I accept it and I use it in a positive way. You know, sometimes we go through our entire work day and we reflect back on what we did, and we're like, wait a second, I was at work for a full day and I don't even know what I did. And so one other thing that I do, and it's right here on my time grid from last week, at each half an hour mark in my day where there are gaps, this image that you're seeing right now is what you'll see on Sunday night at 10 p.m. right? It's what I know is going to happen this week, or at least what I intend to happen. And I always use pencil as well because things change. But for the most part, this is what's going to happen. You see a lot of white spaces or blank spaces. My intention isn't always to fill up those spaces because, like I showed you with the jar, life tends to fill up those spaces in one way or another. You may find out that there's a crisis at work and you need to go figure out how to put out this fire, and you now have to readjust your schedule, or you can use these white spaces to fill in that time. But at every half an hour mark, I go back and I look at my schedule and I say, what did I do in that half an hour? Did I do what I say I was going to do on Sunday night at 10 p.m. or did I do something else? And you'll find that at the end of my week, my time grid is actually filled in with all of the things that I did. And so that when I go or I leave and I'm done for work for that particular day, I can look back and say, oh, that's how I spent my time. And at the end of the week, I can evaluate myself and say, is that the best way I should have spent my time? Oh man, I wasted a lot of time doing that particular thing. How did that happen? How did that creep up? Whose responsibility was that? And you know, my acronym for email is electronically managing another individual's list. And sometimes we allow email to be the driver of the way we spend our time and our energy during the work week. And I found that that is not powerful and is not productive, in that we actually want to be in control and we want to create space in our weekly schedule for email. And of course, you know, Rolando, my business partner, talks about that in Techno Organizing, about creating particular spaces in your time and day to manage your email. Otherwise, email becomes a driver of your work life. So I'm going to stop right there. That is the teaching for today on how to create your perfect work week. I hope you found it valuable. And right now, I would love to open it up for questions from all the callers out there. And in order to ask a question, you don't have to state your name. You can also ask a question on the Facebook group if you're a little bit shy. But all you have to do is press *6 and speak up, and I will do my best to answer your questions. So thank you so much for your amazing listening this evening. I hope that you found this teaching valuable, and now we have about 15 minutes available for questions and answers.
Hey, Jullien, Donovan Smith.
How you doing, Donovan?
That is correct.
Hey, Donovan, how you doing, brother?
Doing good, sir. I just want to make a comment. I just want to say thank you for what you're doing with this program right here, and it has definitely created value. And it also gave me an opportunity to take a look at how much time that I'm really not maximizing when I have a lot of downtime. So I just want to say thank you for creating this grid. I'm going to take a look at it, and I'm going to expand on it, and then I'll just probably communicate with you offline if necessary. But I just want to say I greatly appreciate this venue and this passion, and I just want to say to you, continue giving this world your gift, because a lot of people is definitely benefiting from it, both privately and publicly. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that, man. You've been a great supporter. You bought my books as Christmas gifts for people in bulk. So I'm grateful for you helping spread this message and this work to as many people as possible. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. And you have a good evening. I'm going to still stay online to hear what other people have to say, but I just want to know if there's anything that I could do. You know, I'm looking forward to your next book, and I'm looking forward to also share it. You know, and it's just you know, it's just so invaluable. For example, I shared with a friend today that I never had the opportunity to even speak or interact with a Stephen Covey, but I've had an opportunity to interact with a Jullien Gordon, you know.
I appreciate that, man.
Visionary and dreamer, a person that, you know, lives beyond his limits, you know, and really pushes people, you know, to pursue their passion. And through the passion, you know, you could definitely navigate the landscape that's set ahead of you. So it's definitely you're being used in a magical way, you know, and definitely have touched a lot of people, shaped a lot of people, and you know, I was just so a little bit disappointed that you canceled the interview for the second half of this year. But I'm looking forward to what's going to happen at the top of the year. I'm looking forward to your new book, and but you know, I'm a great supporter, and there's a lot of people that I do kind of guide this way, and because I think that, you know, a lot of people could benefit from the vision and, you know, what's going on in this economy, you know, helping them to navigate some of the tough issues. So I just wanted to say thank you. I've been on about 90% of your calls, and I've also went back online and caught up with the ones that I missed. I appreciate it that you do also keep it online for those people who cannot make the call. But I don't want to take up too much of your time. But you have an outstanding evening, and we will communicate shortly.
Thank you, Donovan. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Great.
There was another question out there.
Hello?
Yes, hello. How are you?
Good. Okay. I had a question about the your weekly time grid. Now, I saw that you did things in 30-minute intervals. So
Yes.
I was wondering, is it at the end of each day that you go back and fill in what you did, or is
No.
it throughout the
It's throughout the day, because we will forget. We forget, what did I do at 9 a.m.? I know I did something. I'm still alive, right? I'm still alive. I know I did something, but I can't remember. So at 30-minute marks, like 9:30, 10, I'll fill in what I did in that past half an hour if it wasn't something that was pre-scheduled.
Oh, okay, because I was like, first of all, I really, really want to say I was just so blown away by this call, and this is only my second week, and this is just what I was missing. And so, you know, on top of being just totally amazed, like, wow, this is the organization I need. Wow, he's just so well organized. I was thinking, oh my gosh, his memory is like
no, we forget. And so this is the way I track my time. You know, you have athletes, they track their statistics, or they have people tracking their statistics. The most important thing we can do as high performing professionals is track our time and how we're spending it. If we're not getting the results that we want, then we need to evaluate what we were doing with our time. Because our time is all we have in terms of creating the results in our careers, our companies, and for our clients that we really want to create. And so this is the way I track my time.
Got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey, Jullien, it's David from Alaska. How's it going?
Organize your life. Discipline.